Hello, one person. Camera's nearly sorting itself out, as per usual. Sort of jumped the gun a bit too soon here. Wow, one like, one person already. You excited for the Hyperbola GNU / Linux-libre install? Yep, they unironically call it that. Hello, Iron Fist. Yeah, so when I get all of my free subscribers in, I'll probably start the install. I'll start the video on the install, if you like. Well, it's a stream, but you know what I mean. The main meat of this stream, of course, once the camera's settled down as well. I thought there'd be thousands of people on here, surely wanting to know how to install Hyperbola, the cream of the crop of Linux distributions that nobody's ever heard of, and probably even fewer people use. Sorry, I'm being mean. I actually like it. I do like Hyperbola, but it's quite funny how you pretty much never hear anybody talk about it. Number one, because it's a Libre distribution and they're not really in fashion anymore. And two, because it's an LTS Libre distribution, which is even less popular. And because they're number three, they're sort of slowly but surely transitioning to being a BSD distribution. But that's probably a long way off. I think their plan for that is a couple more, at least, years away. Yes, it's funny because some years ago, when I was looking to maybe Libre boot a computer or get core boot on a computer, I was thinking, well, it makes sense to have a Libre distribution. Why go halfway there if you don't have a Libre booted computer, for example? I know it doesn't really matter. You can do whatever you want with your computer, run whatever distribution you want. But personally, it felt wrong to have a Libre booted computer or a core booted computer and not having a Libre distribution. So, but at that time, I didn't Libre boot or core boot any computer, so it didn't matter. But now that I've got my Libre booted ThinkPad X60 32-bit, that's the other thing, being it's 32-bit, really the only Libre distribution, certainly binary distribution. Is there any other 32-bit distribution that is compiled? I don't know. Anyway, a 32-bit Libre distribution. Really, Hyperbola, I think, is the only one that's worth doing. Parabola, like I said in previous streams, has some issues, seemingly has issues with its GPG keys. Weren't up to date, so I couldn't update it and things like this. So, wow, 4 people already. Okay, I'll give it another. Camera's sort of settled down now, so I'll give it another few minutes, couple of minutes, and then I'm going to start the Hyperbola install. I have a Coreboot tablet, really? But I've just tried Fedora and Ubuntu on it so far. A Coreboot tablet. Okay. Now, am I right in... Oh, okay, Starlab. Am I right in thinking Chromebooks have or use some sort of version of Coreboot? A lot of Chromebooks? I don't know. Good evening, folk survival. Excited for the Hyperbola GNU / Linux-libre distribution install? I know I am. Wow, 6 people. It's a record. We're going to break the internet, guys. I can see it now. Starlabs is in the UK. Starlabs, let me look that up. Starlabs, Linux laptops. Why have I not heard of this? I've not heard of this. Starlabs. Wow. Are they the relatively small? So they're like the Hyperbola of hardware companies. Enthusiasm is palpable. I can sense it. I'll give it another minute. I don't know why. Doesn't really matter, but another minute, then we'll start the install. What was that company that I think began? I think it began with the letter M. There was a hardware company. I think Brody Robertson did a couple of videos on it, and they were like banning people from certain countries from buying their computers because somebody from that country upset them. Some weird stuff I vaguely remember. I like the tablet so far. Can open it up and replace the SSD and battery. Haven't done it yet. Oh, nice. So it's kind of modular then. So I don't think you can think, even Android tablets, I don't ever remember many where you can open it up normally and replace the components, unless I'm wrong on that. Tablets are some of the least interesting computers because of the lack of modularity. But if you've got one where it's quite modular, you know. Genesis Bustamante, hello, didn't you already install Hyperbola? I did. So, sorry, I should clarify, I guess, to people who, maybe if you're new to the channel, or you obviously probably don't watch all my videos, don't watch the live streams, I can't blame you. I have Hyperbola installed on my ThinkPad X60. And I've sort of mentioned a few times that I'm going to do a video, or well, in this case, a live stream on installing it in a VM, just if people want to know how it goes, what the install looks like, you know, that kind of cliche Linux video really. But, you know, some people like that. If they think, well, let me put it this way, 1 or 2 people on my channel are like, I wouldn't mind trying Hyperbola on, I don't know, some old computer because I might like it, or it sounds interesting, or I want to try Libre distribution. So it's just a video just demonstrating it, and then there's some quirks and issues that you might have with Hyperbola that hopefully I'll remember to cover. Now, I'll be honest, those quirks I might not get round to on this stream. It might be on another stream in the near future, but once you've got the base install, you'll be able to go into the forums. There's various mentions of things. There's certain audio issues, perhaps, that you need to be aware of, but for the most part, it's like any other distribution. You didn't mention it's really expensive. I mean, 800 euros is quite a lot of money, but it's because it's the reason for the price. Does Hyperbola Live Image have some tool that checks which hardware won't be supported without proprietary drivers? Good question. Unfortunately, I don't believe it has a tool that tells you that. However, on the face of it, the only hardware I'm aware of that it won't support are Wi-Fi cards that are proprietary. Probably best to look through their documentation, but I think really it's just, for the most part, maybe proprietary proprietary external devices, maybe, that don't have baked-in software, and or even if they do, and Wi-Fi cards. Also, I think, so things like GPUs, so obviously certain, I guess, NVIDIA cards, maybe certain AMD cards, they do sort of cover this on their website. So it's probably best to look at the documentation. But to be fair, I think they make it quite clear what is and isn't compatible. You just need to go through their documentation. Okay, 7 people. So I'm going to pretty much start the video now. I'm just going to take a sip. Right. So let's share my screen. Okay. So the first thing you need is you need to make sure you have your Libre booted computer. Make sure you've got only non-proprietary Wi-Fi cards, GPU. No, only joking. Only joking. Really, if you've got some computer, it will probably work with Hyperbola. But the biggest issue is going to be, are you running a proprietary Wi-Fi card, which is obviously a big issue. But LAN should, your Ethernet, sorry, should work. Shouldn't have any issues with that. However, look at the documentation, look through, so it's hyperbola.info, and then look through issues, look through wikis, look through, okay, maybe not issues, but the wiki. You've got the forums, so there's quite a lot of information here. So if you look down at philosophy and applications and system, there's a lot of information here to cover, and I don't think a video is that interesting covering it. So I've given you a sort of hint there that really the biggest issue is going to be your Wi-Fi card. So if you're using an old ThinkPad, which of course you should be really, well, use what you want. But if you're using, say, an old ThinkPad, it's probably going to be the Intel Wi-Fi card that you're going to have issues with. So you're going to need to get a Libre Wi-Fi card, or have it on Ethernet. This is the whole point of this Libre distribution. Okay, these are the certain things that they don't support. Okay, and there's many other things to consider as well, but read the documentation because there's quite a lot to cover, and I'm not going to cover it in this video. We're just going to install it, really. Okay, so I'm going to do it on a virtual machine. So obviously, if you're on the hyperbola.info website, you want to go to your download page, and then you want to download it. So with the download, it's 64-bit and 32-bit in the ISO, meaning Now, when you boot up the ISO, you can install either the 32-bit or 64-bit. There's no separate images in this sense. So you've got to get it down through torrents or whatever. I'm not going to cover that. Just look up some video on how to do torrents. And then you've got some hardware requirements. Probably your computer, even if you're using an old ThinkPad, will run it. And these are the different versions. Not a lot else to worry about if you're worried about it. So they do mention here, does not support something like this, Intel Atom, I don't know, certain other. So just look through the documentation, you'll probably be fine. So once you've downloaded it, okay, I think on their install, let's go on their install page. They should cover it. So I'm going reference installation. If you want the simpler installation, you've got the beginner's guide installation, but I'm going the reference one. The reference one's the better one. It's technically longer, I guess, but it's fine. So let's have a look. So if you want to create your ISO on like a USB, make sure you have the ISO, and then I think they give some information how to do the, so you can check the ISO if you're worried about the integrity of it, although if you've already downloaded it from the source, then if they're compromised, then your ISO is going to be compromised anyway, but whatever. So nobody does this really. So you can do these whole things. You can check the authenticity, keep going down, keep going down. And then this is writing it to a USB. Now, what I would say is, if you want to just have a quick video reference for doing the writing the ISO to a USB stick or USB drive, just look at some of my very first videos on installing Arch Linux. It's basically the same command. Just maybe make sure that you're taking the Hyperbola ISO, and then make sure you put it in the right drive, basically. Okay, don't overwrite your hard drive. So here's the command. It's pretty simple. It's all the usual Linux stuff. I'm obviously not going to do that because I'm doing on a virtual machine. And then you can, I don't know, use fdisk here and whatever. There you go. There's another example. So do the dd command, if, make sure you get your ISO file of wherever it is, and then make sure it's a USB, and then byte size 1 meg, I guess, and then syncing that. Okay. So let's just sort of get into this now. See what people are saying. 7 people still on here. Okay. So I'm using Vert Manager here with, I can't remember what it's called. Why can't I remember what it's called? You know, the, what is it called? KMS? Basically the non-virtual machine. Oh no, the non-virtual, what am I talking about? KMS. KMS Linux. I'm going mad. I just literally cannot even remember the things I'm talking about. Linux virtual machine, Linux virtualization. I'm sure somebody will say in a second. Hi, Ahmed. It's KVM. Yeah, KVM. KVM Linux. With QEMU, that's it. So KVM, QEMU. How can I forget these things? Okay. I haven't actually used the virtual machine in a bit, so that's my excuse. Interior grade memory loss. That's obviously a condition I'm suffering from right now. I don't know why. So you can use VirtualBox. VirtualBox is probably the most famous one. I'm using KVM with QEMU. Use whatever you want. It's much the same. Okay. So I'm going to create a new. So obviously I've got the ISO. I'm going to create a new one here. And then I want local install media. Let's look at architecture. Now I'm going to do the 64-bit. Now I know I've got an X60 ThinkPad that's got 32-bit, but it doesn't matter. It's basically the same thing. If you're going to be using a 64-bit computer, install a 64-bit, I would suggest. If you're using a 32-bit computer, install a 32-bit. So whatever yours is, right? So I'm x86-64 on this. All right, let's go browse and go. Let's browse local. And I want this one here. Open that one. And then if you just, now I'm going to untick the automatically detect. For whatever reason, it doesn't really automatically detect for me. So I'm just going to go Hyperbola. And then just this one, Hyperbola, whatever. And then forward. For this, I'm going to do, I don't know, what is it, 496? And then 2 CPUs. That's like half of this X201's what do you call it? I can't even talk or think properly. Or should I do 248? Is it 248? The RAM on my computer, my X201, I was going to use half. I'm just going to use that. That's fine. 248. Use whatever you want, and 2 CPU cores. Now, obviously, this is a 15-year-old computer, so I haven't got infinite resources, but it doesn't matter for Hyperbola. And then, I don't know, I'm going to do a 20 gig virtual machine hard disk. Now, you use whatever you want, and if you did install it on bare metal, you're going to probably use the whole of the thing. Okay, and then I'm just going to go forward. I'm going to call it Hyperbola. That's what I'm going to call it. I know, exciting, right? And I'm going to click Customize before install, because I don't think there's anything I need to do actually, but I'm just going to hit that. I'm going to hit Finish. So it's going to create that container. And then what we got here. So I think chipset's fine. BIOS, yeah. All the usual stuff. One of the things with this, like a lot of virtual machines, you get pass-through for your internet. So with the internet, you might have to just follow the install guide, because obviously this isn't bare metal, but we'll look at that anyway. It's pretty simple, I believe. I'm trying to remember, but it's pretty simple. It's not as difficult as you might think. Right, so let's begin the install. We'll make this full screen. So you can choose either that one or that one. I'm using the x86-64. On my physical machine, I've got the 32-bit, which is that one. But we're just going to do this one. So it's going to start booting this up. Hopefully, I'm not going to have any issue with this virtual machine, because I think I had previously, when I did the OpenBSD, I had some issues with the virtual machine install. I had to do some things in the settings, but I think this one's fine. Now, I've talked about Hyperbola before, but just put this in perspective, it's not technically, you might have seen Pac-Man starting up, it's not technically an Arch distribution, and it's not technically a Debian distribution, but I think they take some of the packages from Debian and then they do whatever they do to them, and they use Pac-Man as their package manager. That's really all you need to know, and of course, it's a Libre distribution. Okay, so let's go back over here. So internet connect, that's obviously one of the first things you need to do. So one of the things you need to do with Hyperbola that you probably or don't usually do with something like Arch is the DHCP. Okay, so with the DHCP is what sets up your like your IP, I believe. So if I go DHCP, yeah, the dynamic host configuration protocol, which you need to do on Hyperbola to set it. It's very simple, and you need to add it to your init system, which is OpenRC, but hopefully we'll just cover all that. People saying. I actually don't know nothing about virtualization, containerization, etc. I don't have enough hardware resources to run these things reliably anyway. Well, I don't think you're missing out too much. Just watch my videos, install it on bare metal, you'll be fine. Okay, let's go back into this. Now, the only annoying things, I know some of these virtual machines, some of the keys or the modify keys don't work as I want. I don't know why that is. They used to, but I don't know. All right, so let's ping either GNU or let's ping my website. So if I go back in here and I do ping, I'll do -c. So this is free counts -c3, and I'm going to do jameschampion.xyz. So I've got internet connection. Because I've got the pass-through on the container on the virtual machine, I just get the internet connection. But for you, if you want to use Wi-Fi straight away, make sure you have a Libre Wi-Fi card if you're running this on bare metal, or you're connected to your Ethernet. Okay. Right. So saying DHCP is already enabled on all devices. So we've got internet. Now here's the instructions for wired. So you've got RC service. RC service is OpenRC, which we'll cover. And if you need to identify your Ethernet devices, make sure you do IP link. Okay. And then IWconfig is your which interface are not wireless. Okay. So I'm just trying to think now. Ethernet interface, yeah, IP link. So WLPSO would be should be your Wi-Fi, I think. So Ethernet is this one, okay? So if you see this or something like it, that's your Ethernet. Okay, you've got IWconfig as well. Okay. If you see loopback, that's just your internal routing. Don't worry about that. It's not relevant for this. So you might have to activate your Ethernet. So you do your IP link and then set your Ethernet to up. Okay. So for example, if you're running your cable into your computer, your Ethernet cable, this is what you need to turn on. Okay. So you do IP link, and then you need to set your Ethernet to up. Okay. Then you need to add the address, IP address, add IP address and submask to the device interface name. So they've got an example here. So if your IP address is this over that, you need to add it to this device, which is your Ethernet. I hope that makes sense. Add your gateway like this, like this. So I don't actually use Ethernet. So for my bare metal install, I did wireless. So it's going to be something slightly similar. So you got IW pre-installed on your ISO, so you do IW dev, and then that should tell you your Wi-Fi device here. So it should list out your Wi-Fi device. So here's an example. And then like before, like your F8, you need to do IP link set, and then the name of your Wi-Fi device, and then you need to turn it on. You need to set it to up, okay? Now, somebody did mention, are there any tools to tell you that there might be issues with certain devices? Now, they do actually mention if you get this error, then your wireless chip could be a non-free Wi-Fi device. And Hyperbola do not support non-free Wi-Fi devices. So what you need to do is connect your Ethernet, okay? Okay, and then you've got what's called WPA supplicant. WPA supplicant is one of the tools for basically Wi-Fi devices on your Hyperbola install. There are a couple. I think IW, I guess, is technically one. However, you don't get Network Manager. So Network Manager is not on Hyperbola, which you might be familiar with from my previous Arch install. So in this case, what you need to do, again, I'm having to explain this because I don't have Wi-Fi on this virtual machine. It's a pass-through to this computer. So what you need to do is you need to put in WPA supplicant dash capital B dash small I, your name of your device, so like the one you turn to up on IP link, and then you need to do dash C. You need to do a left angle bracket, and then in brackets put your put WPA passphrase, and then you need to put the name of your SSID. So that's the name of the network on your Wi-Fi, right? And you need to put this in commas or in quotations, sorry, and then you need to put in your pass key, your password, okay, and then close bracket. So it does explain here how to do that. Oh, finally, you have to give your interface an IP address. So this is where DHCP CD comes in, okay? So this is what's going to dynamically host configuration protocol is going to automatically assign IP address to your network or device, okay? So that's important. You're going to need to do that. Now, if you have any issues, follow this. If you're on ADSL, I don't know why you're on ADSL, but you might need to do that. And that's, again, I think this is for all ADSL. Don't need this. Don't worry about that. Okay, now the interface configures, we start using the following commands. Don't need that. It's all for, I think, ADSL. If you're behind a proxy server, you might need to do this. Okay, right, let's install this thing. So it's not as easy as Arch in that way, but I promise you it's not difficult. Just follow those instructions. If I was on bare metal, I'd be able to just, show you relevance to that, but obviously I'm not, so it's not that difficult, I promise you. Right, so they suggest using fdisk. So I tend to use, CFdisk. I tend to use fdisk, but it doesn't matter. So let's have a look. So you have got LSBLK, so it shows you there, but let's do CFdisk. And ISO, now I've got to switch back all the time. So what's my device dash dev? These loopback devices. So where's the 20 gig? So mine's going to be VDA, virtual disk. Okay, yours is probably going to be SDA if you're on a what's it called, on a bare metal device. Okay, I've done that right. Next, make sure you spell it correctly. cfdisk-dev VDA. Okay, and then you can choose the label type. So let's go back to the instructions. Label the petitions. So interesting, they suggest doing like a swap device with this. So we're just going to do the swap device. You probably won't need a, well, say you don't need a swap device. You can sort of follow the same thing I did in my original Arch install, but we're just going to follow their suggestions. I think they sort of show this a bit different in the other install guide for some reason. So select the label type, GPT. So, for example, if we do a new and we do, was it 1 gigabyte? Let's do like a 1 gigabyte. So I'm going to go to, let's open up. Surely they sort of explain it more in here. Let's have a look. Let's look at the way they do their partitioning table here. Delete all partitions. Time, last boot record. So again, it might depend if you're using UEFI or BIOS. So again, maybe look at the beginner installation guide if you want to see their suggestions on that. I can't even remember if I selected DOS. I guess I did previously. Does it matter? Guess we'll find out. I can't remember, but we'll find out. So I'm just gonna quit this. I'm gonna start that again. I'm gonna go down DOS. I don't know why. And then let's have a look again. Delete all the petitions, and you see free space. Then make new petition, choosing new, and then primary. So again, if you've already got if you're installing this on bare metal, you're probably gonna have to delete that drive. Okay. Let's go new and set to primary. Let's do 1 gigabyte. Primary. And so this thing make that quarter of your computer's memory. Okay, so actually, if it's 20 gigabyte, I should have made it 5. So let's do that again. So here you go. If you've already got one, just hit delete. So if you have already got devices that are on there, or sorry, if you already got petitions that are on there, just hit delete on them until you get this free space one. So if you've got, say you've got 120 gigabyte hard drive, okay, you need to have a quarter, or this is the guide, a quarter of it as a swap partition. So for example, if that's 120, you need 25 plus 5, and that's right. So yeah, you're going to need like 30. So we're going to do new. So I'm going to, on this one, I'm going to do 5 and then primary, and then go back up here, let's have a look again. And then I need to change the type to Linux swap old Solaris. So let's go back. And then, so we need to change this to type. And then I want Linux swap / old Solaris. Okay. And then if I go back up here, and then the remaining, the rest should be primary, the type kept as Linux, and then we need to make it the boot flag, okay? So new, all of that, primary, and then we want to make this type as Linux, and then we want to make this as bootable. Okay, so now you can see I've got boot on the, as an asterisk under the boots column, yeah? Okay, and then choose write, and then type yes to save, and then quit out of that. So go to write, and then we want to type yes. Okay, I think that's done it. It's actually done it. I guess if I hit quit, it will tell me if I haven't. Syncing this. So if I do lsblk now, there you go. You can see I've got two partitions, VDA1, VDA2. Oh, I can't get out of this. Can't even. So annoying. Right. Okay. So yeah, looks technically something like that. We know we've done that already. And then this is about creating a file system. So I'm actually going to go back to this reference, the full reference. So we just use that as an example. So if I go back down, partition disk, so we've done that, So if you want to, you can have it as Lux or RAID. So Lux I've encrypted. I've got Lux on mine under the home directory. The only thing with this, they haven't got an official guide for Lux on here. So just look at similar like Arch installs where they've done that. There is a guide on the forums, but the only thing you've got to be aware of, this uses Grub, and Grub doesn't really support Argon 2 ID, which is really what you want for having those partitions encrypted, if that makes sense. And RAID is obviously like fast boot, I guess, RAID, isn't it? Or device, I don't know. You guys will probably know more about it than me. I don't, I just use SSD. I don't know. People are saying. Okay. So where are we up to now? So now we want to activate swap. So MK swap on SDA, which is going to be VDA in my case. So if you remember, VDA1 is the swap partition, and VDA2 is the boot partition, the main partition, okay? So again, it's MK swap, and then on that, so MK swap on dev VDA1. So it's setting that up, and then what is it? Swap on. Okay, so we want swap on dev VDA1. Okay. And then if you look down at the lsblk command I've done there, you can see swap is activated on VDA1. Okay. All right, let's have a sip. Riveting, isn't it? Okay, where are we now? So now to be honest, now we're into the sort of generic install, I would say. Not so different. The biggest problem you're probably going to have is getting your Ethernet or Wi-Fi running, but it's really not an issue. You just need to follow those instructions. So if we go now, we need to load the keys. So I'm doing load keys, UK, if you're US or whatever. If you're German, I guess it's DE, but obviously, you know, it all depends. So all my keys are right, comma, the at key and the quotation are all correct, so it's not a problem. So now we need to format the partition. So obviously this is where you've got to create your file system. So I'm just going to do it ext4 because ext4 just works. Okay, this is what they suggest in the guide, so we're going to go by the guide. If you're using UEFI, you're going to need to do the UEFI thing, which I would suggest just looking up an Arch install. They tell you how to do the UEFI, but this is what they're suggesting here. Okay, so mkfs.ext4, and we want to do this on our dev SDA2. So I'm just thinking you don't need to do it on swap, do you? You need to do it on swap. What do they suggest? I guess you don't need to do it on swap because it's just like turning it into RAM, isn't it? I don't know. I never remember these things. Let's just go by the guide, right? So let's go back to this one. So mkfs, so makefilesystem.ext4. That's what we're going to do. Makefilesystem.ext4. And then we want to do it on VDA 2. So hit enter. And then, as you can see, that was pretty much instant. It might take longer depending on what device you're using. Right, now we need to mount the partitions because obviously it's not even mounted, so you can't install anything yet. So what do we want here just now? So the root partition on mount. Now I think with this, they say about mount dash boot and mount dash home, but I don't think with this you actually need to do that. So you could just have the, you don't even need to like create the file boot, if I remember rightly. It says you should also create directories for mount any other partitions, but I don't think you need to do it. So you can just put it on mount. Let's just do that. So again, what you might do is okay, dir mnt, no. Might do is mount the root partition on mount. You should also create directories for and mount any other partitions. So this is the thing, any other partitions, because this has got a swap rather than like your first partition being like your boot partition, your second partition being your root, it's actually not necessary, I think. So we'll try it. I'm pretty sure that's the reason. So it's slightly different. So if I do mount dev VDA2 to mount, just remember though, obviously VDA2 is the main partition that's going to boot everything up, hold up our file system, okay? So we're just going to go with it. So yeah, mount to that. So mount dev VDA2 to mount. If I do lsblk, as you can see, VDA2 is now mount. Okay, if you remember, the mount point for VDA1 is a swap partition. Okay, so this is just really the everything partition. So it's not really essential, I think, to have a boot partition on this, or sorry, not really essential to have a slash boot directory, if that makes sense. But if you need to do that, by all means do that. Right, now we need to set the date. Now with the date, you actually have to sort of explicitly set the date. On like Arch, you don't, you just do the hardware clock, but on this, we're going to do that. So if I do date, it's probably fine, but let's just do it properly. So we want the month, the day, the hour, the minute, and then what the year is, and then however many seconds. Okay, so I'm going to do it from okay, let's do it from my phone. So date, and then the month is 08, and then day is 24. Hour is 19 in the UK. I think that's right. Let's have a look. And then we want the minutes. So that's going to be 58. And then we can get back here. And I want so you can omit a lot of this. So now it's a century, and then a year, and then you can do seconds. So 2025 dot, I'm just going to do 30. So there we go. If I do date now, it's actually accurate because that's British summertime. Okay, so that's that. And then, right, let's install this thing. Okay, so use packstrap. We need some packstrap to the mount mount point and install the base. Okay, packstrap onto mount and then base. So now it's going to start installing. So it's going to take some minutes while it's doing that. Let's see what people are saying. Wow, 6 people. So this is also the sort of time you want to install all your sort of other packages as well in a minute. So you might want WPA supplicant. You might want other things as well. So you can see here, like the Libre kernel is way smaller. So this is an LTS one, right? A few errors there, but I think that's all right. So hopefully this is all going to work. Okay, I think we're nearly done with the base install. So it takes so long. Always takes so long. Okay, so I think that's all good. And right. So if you install things like, I don't know, Vim, WPA supplicant, you know, make sure if you are literally relying on Wi-Fi that you install WPA supplicant, because if you don't, then when you do your install, so when you reboot, you're not going to be able to connect to your Wi-Fi. You're going to have to connect to Ethernet, because you've got to remember that the ISO is providing WPA supplicant. Okay, we're actually installing the system. So we're going to install WPA supplicant, even though I don't need it, because this is the point about installing it on like bare metal. So let's replace that with WPA supplicant. And I'm going to do Vim as well. Okay, that's done. Right, now we need to create the FS tab. Okay, so FS tab is basically it assigns the UUIDs of your devices, I think. I can't even literally remember. But we use gen FS tab, so we want to use gen FS tab. I'm actually just going to start typing it like this, and I'll show it full screen in a minute. Gen FS tab. Dash U dash P. against mount. And then we want to direct that generation file actually into the mounted system, etc. FS tab, I think. Okay, so it should look like something like that. Let's give that a go. And if you don't want UUID or labels, you can do it like that. It don't really matter. Okay, now we need to chroot into the system. So this is where we need to enter directly into our newly installed system. So we're running inside the system. Okay, now we've got the Linux kernel installed and various base packages installed and whatever. So we do arch chroot into mount. Arch chroot into mounts. What am I doing? /mount. That's right. Okay. So now you can see the prompt changes. We're actually inside our system. Okay. Right, now we need to do our host name. So host name is just the name of your computer. So we're just going to call it like Hyperbola. Add host name to host. So echo localhost to host name. Usually it's sufficient to set your host name to localhost. Really? Okay, you can call it whatever you want. I'll just go by the guide. We'll do the wiki, do the prov thing. But you can do, so you could do like, I don't know, Hyperbola or whatever you want to call it, but I'll just do what they say. Localhost, and what was it, into etc. host name. Okay. Then we want to go into the etc. host. So you can use nano. I'm going to use vim. Okay, and then this is how we want to set it up. So if I go vim, etc. So hosts. Okay, and then so it's got localhost, local domain, localhost. I think it's already set up actually. Localhost. What do I need to add? Localhost. Okay, I need to set that twice. So localhost. Can't remember how to vim. There we go. All right, I'm going to right quit that, save that, exit nano if you need to. So that should be done. So just make sure it's like this, or like this, sorry. Okay, all right, now we need to do the locale. So this is setting up the local preferences. So the locale language you're using. So we need to go into the etc locale.conf. Again, I'm going to use vim, but you can use nano, whatever you want to do. Is that right? It's not right, is it? Type the following to set local preference. Uncomment. I thought we should have all the languages in there. Try and comment. Why is that like that? Locale.gen. Need to go in locale.gen. So make sure you get to the right one. Okay, so I'm going to go down. So again, depending on your keyboard or your language, I'm NGB. So I think it's this one. So if I look at the wiki, NUS, yeah, UTF-8. Yeah, so again, just make sure you uncomment, take out the hash character out the one you want, and then we'll right click that. And then I want to run the locale-gen command. So this is going to generate that. Okay, done the locale-gen, so it's generating the locales. Then you can check. So we can go into that. So that should be right now. I'll go back up. There we NUS. Is that right? I don't even think that's set that right. You think it would have just set up correctly, so why is that? Why is that? It should be GV, shouldn't it? UK. Did I set up the right one? Yeah, I did. Did the right one. If it's down as US, I don't know. That's not right. So I'm changing that manually. I think that's right. Let's run locale-gen again. I don't know. Okay, so what else we need to do that? So you can now you can export if it's not correct, but I've just done it anyway. And then you can export your chosen locale just in case for your current session. And then you can add console key map and font preferences to that. So we'll do that. Why not? This is a good example. Export lang equals n underscore gb dot utf. Is it -8? Yeah, I can see it at the top there anyway. I think that's right. If I highlight that. So again, that should be correct now. And then we can add the console key map and font preferences in here. So let's do them, etc. Conf d key maps. Okay. So here we go. Use key map, specify default console key map. So I'm going to change this to UK. So when we do load keys, this is basically the same thing. Load keys UK. window key, console key map. Bonus key map enable VT switching. So again, if you want to do VT switching, however you want to do it, they've got it down as no. That's interesting. I'm not too fussed about it. So some people prefer, you know, switching the was it Alt left and arrow key, or I guess the Windows key left and arrow key, but I'm just going to leave it as no. Just use Alt if you're in the TTY. And then you've got extended, and then you've got some other stuff, and some other stuff. If you need to use that, read through that. Oh, I need to right quit that. Okay. So that's what we've done there. So now we can use RC update. So this is RC is OpenRC, which we're going to update on here. If you want to see what key maps there are, go into user share KBD key maps. So we've got our key map set, so I should just be able to use that. Yeah, so this only affects the CLI. So if you're using X11, which I'll probably cover in another video now, you need to do that separately. I've done this in like OpenBSD videos, and I've done this on Arch videos. X11 is much similar, except we use Xenokara technically on Hyperbola, like we do on OpenBSD. Right, so let's update, RC update. RC update, add key maps. Default. So what this is doing is our init system, when it starts up the computer, we want to start up with our default key map, or we want the key map we got set now added to our default. So this is updating by adding the key map that we're using into our default, and then it will load the default, which should when we boot up our computer. So enter. So as you can see, service key map added to run level default. So if I do RC status, as you can see, these are like your, it doesn't seem to cover all of that. I don't know. Don't worry about it for now. We'll look at OpenRC properly later. Okay. So now we need to set our time zone. So you can see all your time zones in here. So I'm Europe, London, that's going to be my time zone. If you're in Europe, say Paris or whatever your nearest thing is, that's what you're going to set. If you're in America, it's going to be, I guess, America and whatever. So just look through what your time zone is. So in this case, mine's going to be, so let's do ln-s user share / zone info, and then we want zone. So mine's going to be Europe. So if I tab, you can see it's showing you what different ones are. So mine's Europe, and then I can do London. So if I show you here, so these are all like the different time zones. So again, you want to pick what's yours. So if you're America, it's going to be America. If you're Europe, it's going to be Europe. As you can see, I'm going to be London. And then we want to put that into etc. local time. So we're linking it. Local time. Make sure that's right. And I've got an example here. So if you're in Oslo, in Europe, in Norway, that's what you'd have. Enter, so that's done. Let's come back out of this. Right, now we need to set the hardware clock. So do HW. So as you can see, this is a lot like sort of Arch, you know, it's not too much different. System OHC UTC. Okay, I think that's right. Enter. I think that's okay. Hope it is. I'll get back at this. Oh, it's so annoying. Yeah. Okay. And you want to set like your password. So this is your root password. Obviously, if you want to create your home profile, set your home password. So I'm just going to set passwd. And then just set something. Make sure you know you have a strong password. You should know how to do that. Okay, so that's done. Right, now we need the bootloader. So this is going to actually boot up your operating system. So we're using Grub, which again is a typical sort of Arch Linux, or any really Linux distribution usually is Grub. Background-s Grub. Although you can use sys Linux. So we're actually installing Grub here. So install it. Take a moment. And then we want to do grub install and then target. I think you can just do grub install. What do they suggest here on this one? Okay. Okay, we'll just do the thing. We'll just do it as per the documentation. Grub install, is it target equals I 386 PC recheck append the partition number I. Oh, I can't. Oh, SD. Oh, okay, VDA. So it's just VDA, isn't it? I think that's right. Dev VDA. Is that right? What does the Arch wiki say? Curious. I just want to make sure I'm getting this right. Let's go on. Let's go on Grub. Where's Grub? Bootloader. Was Grub say? We got EFI. So again, if you're using UEFI, you're going to do it slightly differently. So what we want is it's so convoluted. So regardless where and def is the disk, not the partition. So for example, SDA, yeah, it's what it should be. So I just want VDA, right? So it should look like this. So it's installing. Okay, no error, so that's good. Let's get rid of that. All right. And then we need to configure it. Let's install it and generate the grub config. So we want to do grub mkconfig config -o and boot grub conf, is it? Oh no, cfg. Make sure you get it right. Let's have a look. Go with that. Okay, hopefully that's right. Okay, then if you're doing syslinux, do that. And we want to create the RAM disk. So this is to initiate everything running in RAM, I think. So loads it into RAM, basically. The configuration, I think that's right. I never remember. So mk init cpio. As always says in the documentation, so we're going with that. mk init cpio. mk init cpio. Oh, what have I done? Press the wrong button. Okay. View -p. And then we want to do this on the Linux LTS something Libre -LTS. So Linux-libre LTS, and then hit enter. I'll show you what that looks like. So take a few moments. Okay, so that looks like it was fine. Oh, come on. Right, looks like we're done. Yes, there's some stuff about UEFI, so just, follow that. So now we need to unmount and reboot. So if you're still in the root environment, exit. So it's exit. And umount -R mnt. So let's show you what this looks like. So just lsblk, obviously it's unmounted now. Oh, get out of this and look at this again. And then reboot. So again, if you have like separate partitions, you need to make sure you unmount from those. Obviously we didn't bother because that wasn't essential. Right, so we're going to reboot, and hopefully it's all going to work. Looking good. So it looks like it's installed on grub. It's booting. OpenRC starting up. Login, so root, and then there we go. There you go. There's a running Hyperbola Linux-libre. Okay, so that's how you do it. Now I'm not going to do all the configuration stuff in this one. In this stream, we're going to look at post installation in the next video, the next stream. We'll leave it there. If you want to continue on, if you're installing this, then obviously follow their instructions. But I'm going to do that in the next stream. Pretty easy stuff. So if you do follow on after this, just follow the instructions. Look at the forums if you have any issues. I'm sure you'll be fine. You're smart people. I only have smart people on this channel. So there you go. Right, what are people saying? Let's power this off. Ooh. David Collins, Qubit. Yeah, you can then install the drivers after you have a stable connection. Exactly. Yeah, so as you saw, the Hyperbola is pretty simple. I think the kind of people on this channel, they're not going to struggle with, you know, setting up Ethernet or Wi-Fi. Again, the only issue you're going to probably have is if you're not running a Libre Wi-Fi card. Wow, the room is so quiet now. Are you all blown away by that? Has it left you speechless? Hyperbola, Linux-libre. So if you've got any questions, by all means ask. I'll try and answer them. If you've got any Hyperbola questions, or if you just got any general, just want to chat, I'll be on for a little bit longer. Are you all furiously installing Hyperbola? Is that what's happening? I know. How could you not have questions? I must have covered everything. Look good. Good. Good to hear. Thank you. I've got a bloke who owns a web design company. I'm trying to move away from WordPress. Well, I mean, I don't know what to say about that really. I guess if you can move away from WordPress, great. But my only thought would be, if you need WordPress for the business, you know, to make money and put food on the table for your family, just be careful. Don't destroy the business on some ideological grounds. Well, maybe somebody wants to. He would save so much money in hosting fees, but they can't code. Well, again, I mean, you can sort of be a fundamentalist on this, but if that's what they need to do, I guess that's what they need to do if they can't code. I'll be honest, I'm going to be ironic here. Am I being ironic here? It's probably going to be, okay, I've got to be careful how I say this because it'll probably fly in the face of a lot of things I say. But I'd almost actually, now that I think about it, if I was going to do if I was going to do like elaborate web design, I probably would rather do it in something, sounds bad. I wouldn't really rather do anything web design, but maybe, just maybe, if there wasn't a price cost, I'd maybe want to do it in something like WordPress with, I don't know, like all those add-ons and plugins, then code it in JavaScript or something. Okay, that's probably sounds a bit controversial. However, I also wouldn't want to have to spend a load of money if I didn't need to. But I think you know from my recent videos how I feel about the web and web design. So, you know, either way, personally, I wouldn't like any of it. But if you can get them away from using WordPress and save them a load of money, that'd be great. But they might hate you when they realize they got to learn how to code JavaScript or TypeScript or something. I don't know. Maybe they would hate having to do that more than saving money and just using WordPress. I don't know. Anyway, let us know how you get on with that. I haven't tried WordPress, but what do they charge extra for? I thought you could just install it on like Cloud Ubuntu instance. You can. They have over 200 sites on the server. It's always pegging the CPU on a 16-core machine with 64 gig RAM. Well, maybe, surely you can save the money by, I don't know, employing a developer. Maybe they can employ a developer to maintain these sites. I mean, it's a lot of sites, I don't know, on the server. I mean, I don't know how often these sites change. They were surprised when my 20th site's running around 100 meg on storage and it's all hand-coded, loads damn fast. Yeah, so that must feel pretty good, to be fair, with having them run on 100 megabyte storage and it's all hand-coded. So you're obviously onto something there, but they clearly they got a business model and it works, and they're probably quite afraid, I guess, to change it. Yeah, I guess it depends on how much it costs compared to recoding or whatever. Yeah, so you've got to judge it, really. I mean, that's just a typical attitude of business, right? Make money and then, you know, do whatever. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. It might be broke by design, because the web's broken by design, I don't know. Yeah. So maybe if you can get them to hire developers, in the sense that it's cheaper in the long run to have developers than all this overhead, but I don't know. I don't know if it is. Okay, guys, so I'm going to give it another 5 minutes. So any last sort of questions or anything you want to talk about? We can cover very briefly at the end, but obviously this stream was mainly for installing Hyperbola. Just be aware, I probably won't do the follow-up stream until next week, or in this week, in the next 5 days or so. So if you have installed Hyperbola, make sure you read the documentation on doing the next steps, because you're going to have to consider OpenRC, learn how to do OpenRC. The documentation is on there. They've got an OpenRC page that gives you all the important commands, and look at the forums. So, because there's certain things you need to have, like DCHP on your init system on your OpenRC. So you need to add that. You need to add WPA supplicant, and obviously you need to put in your password and all this, set all your password up like you did when you, if you did, doing the install, because you only did that for using the ISO. You didn't have it set up on the actual install system. So just be aware of that. And there's some other things. You're going to probably need SNDIO audio to, and you know, your usual thing like ALSA utils. And again, you need to add ALSA utils, I think, to OpenRC, the init, and you need to add SNDIO as well. But we'll cover that. We'll cover that. They say coding in is hard, and I get that. Some people run a lot of extra for something that could be written in Notepad. Well, no questions, eh? Yeah, I hear it a lot. Linux is hard, I run Windows. I'll be honest. Modern Windows just drives me mad. Just so infuriating. Whenever I have to use it at work, it's just... I take it back. Web development isn't the worst. Windows 11 is just the... Maybe Mac OS, I don't know. That was pretty bad. The best thing about Mac OS, I think I've mentioned this before, is do whatever you do dare not have an older printer, or a printer that has a driver from a couple of years ago, because Mac will not let you install it on your own computer for security. It's really annoying me. Win 11 effing updates, yeah. I think Mac OS annoys me a bit less, but Windows just keeps changing my... Yeah. I guess I'm just going to stick with my 32-bit Hyperbola Linux installation for the rest of my life somehow. And the ads in the file browser, I know. Yeah, what's with that? I just mess with Windows when I fix my parents' computer. It's like, what have they done now? I know it's... Because here's the thing. To be fair, Windows XP was like a bit of a sweet spot for Windows. After Windows 95 and 98, if you're a normal user, which I pretty much was back in the day, it just felt like Windows XP did actually work, didn't crash. Yeah, there's always the risk of installing a virus. There's always a risk of saying, but hey, the thing worked, right? And just wasn't really stressful at all. You know, you plug a USB device in, it just worked usually. The issue became, obviously what they wanted to tap into was, you know, taking over the resources of your computer. So you buy a new computer, and, you know, Windows Vista, you know, just destroyed everybody's resources on their computer, forced people to try and upgrade. And they've just kind of continued that. It's funny with them, they kind of, each version is like a reaction to the last. So, you know, Windows XP was obviously relatively light, and it's like, okay, how do we get people to upgrade their computer? We'll have Vista destroy the resources in their computer, make them think they need a new computer. But then there's a backlash. Everybody's like, oh, Windows Vista is horrible. How dare you, you know, make our computer useless. And they're like, oh, okay, now you can have Windows 7. And like, everybody's happy again. Oh, actually, you know, our computer can run Windows 7 in a way it couldn't run Windows Vista as nicely. I know Windows Vista had updates and whatever. And then it's like, okay, now how can we get people to get a new device? We'll give them a Windows 8 hybrid system where you have to buy a tablet to run it properly. It's like everybody hates Windows 8. So it's like, okay, now's the backlash. Okay, now you can have Windows 10 and use your computer properly. And it's like, okay, people like Windows 10. Now people can use the Windows computer properly. It's like Microsoft are like, oh no, how do we get people to replace their computer and get a new Windows license? Oh, we'll make Windows 11 and make it impossible for anybody to run Windows. So basically you'll have Windows 12, right? And it'll be like, oh, anybody can run Windows 12 on their computer. And then Windows 13 will be like Vista 8, 11, and everybody will love it. Well, sorry, everybody will love, you know, Windows 12, and then Windows 13 will be like the work. Well, maybe they won't have 13 because it's an unlucky number. There's a pattern. Windows 8 was the one that restarted being annoying for me with the tiles. I don't want to have to guess if my network card is working correctly while I'm fixing the network. I don't want flashy graphics and stuff. I just need to get out of my way so I can work. Just make it more stable, support fewer bits of hardware, and don't change it. Yeah. Okay, guys. Well, I hope, I say enjoy. I don't know if that's the right word. You maybe learned something from the Hyperbola install. Now you know Hyperbola, the distribution does exist. And if you want a Libre distribution that's like a long-term support or slower moving, let's say, then maybe Hyperbola is right for you. I'm going to do a stream covering setting it up, which again, even if you're not using Hyperbola, might have some interesting things going on in it that you might not have seen in a Linux system. So I don't know. So I'm going to do that in the next stream, which will probably be, I don't know, Friday. So hang around on Friday. I'm probably going to do it then. That's sort of my live stream timings now, Fridays and Sundays. So even Microsoft removed the Windows Metro tiles. Terrible idea. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next stream. Look out for my videos, and take care. Enjoy the bank holiday Monday if you're British. Cheers, guys. See you later.